Hey, this is Ken Allen. Can everyone hear me? If you have any questions for me, go ahead and write them into the chat. Did I compose this soundtrack? Which track was the hardest, the most complex, the most interesting? Well, Summer, the thing I remember most from working on this is that Mark and Scott needed to bring Space Quest 4 to Sierra's quarterly or monthly review board, where they would check on the progress of all the games in development. And Mark and Scott came to me saying, "Hey, we got to be in next week's review board meeting, and we don't have music. Would you write the entire opening sequence over the weekend?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And I didn't sleep. And my poor little MT32 was smoking by the end of the weekend. So the hardest part was to come up with a wholly original theme and style. They definitely wanted a John Williams kind of an experience, and we pushed the limits of the MT32 as far as it would go. And of course, the short story to that is because I got to work on the opening sequence over the weekend. Mark and Scott insisted that I work on the rest of the game. So that's the answer to Summer's question. Okay, let's see what else. What was Sierra like during Space Quest 4 time? It seems to be very turbulent. Actually, during the development of Space Quest 4, the music department and the QA department and a few other, I think marketing, was sent back over to the Red Building, which you've seen at the end of Space Quest 3, while they built the second floor in the main building. They turned those all into offices. It was storage before that. In fact, we were downstairs underneath that storage, and we could hear pallets being dragged around upstairs, and we thought there might be a bowling alley upstairs, jokingly. But of course, that didn't turn out to be the case. So what was going on at Sierra during Space Quest was they were expanding, and they were hiring like crazy, and they were trying to make sure everybody had offices all in the same space. And then eventually we came back over to the main building, and most of us composers got our own private office because we needed to have some sound, isolate our sound from the rest of the building. So there was a lot of expansion. That's the answer to the question, I think.
But there's a question. Swibelgeist has a really great question. I know Alex had a question before that, but I really want to hear this because I know I kind of know what the answer is. But I know there's also an interesting story. Swibelgeist asks, were you involved in composing for... Sorry, it just scrolled. I'll have to come... were you involved in composing or creating music with the PC speaker? And if so, how was music with the PC speaker composed and or produced? I'm laughing because I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm not going to name names, but I didn't even... I knew someone was translating what I was doing and what Rob was doing and what Mark Siebert was doing into the PC speaker, and I didn't pay any attention to it. And so I didn't ever get to hear it until like the last day of development before we're supposed to go off to duplication and for shipping. And just on a whim, I thought, well, let me take a listen because, it's got my name on it. And I listened to it and I went, oh my God, this is terrible. So I went to the head of production, head of development. His name was Chris Iden. And I said, dude, I need one more day. I need to fix this because you do not want this game to go out with the PC speaker sounding the way it did. And he said, you have until the end of the day. And I went, okay. So I went through every piece and redid almost every, I want to say 70% of all the PC speaker songs. I redid them, knocked them out, tried to get them to where I'd be proud of them. And that's how we got the PC speaker version of this. Yeah, painful memory, but thanks for bringing it back. Now I'll just put some lemon juice on my paper cut. Thanks a lot.
Oh, good God!
But yeah, that was like I was very focused and had to get things done quickly. And fortunately, the PC speaker was a fairly simple thing to do.
First of all, I love this music, and it sounds so different. This might be the emulator actually. It sounds a little different than the rip, the OPO3 rip that I have. And I'm leaving the screen up because I want to hear if that little I'm a Little Teapot theme comes in. No, it just looped. I heard it loop. So that little thing was in the original MIDI file, but it's just either the tune loops before it can get to that bit, or you intentionally muted it back in 1990. What's the deal?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't remember. I do remember putting the music in there, but muting it. I want to say, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, that I was advised not to allow that to be in the final game because maybe it was still copywritten by somebody. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I'm a Little Teapot. I don't know if it's copywritten or not, but I went ahead and left it in, but muted it because I didn't want to have to rework on the file. Yeah.
Well, it's official, everyone. The reorchestrated soundtrack vinyl contains a bit of music from Space Quest 4 that has not been heard.
Never been heard before.
Never been.
Whoa.
Well, apart from whoever, sat around like me as a kid going through the resource file, listening to each bit of MIDI. But I didn't know it was in there. And, I suspected that it might have been something that wasn't supposed to ever get out in the wild. But, hey, there we are. It actually contains...
30 years later, the secret is out.
The secret is out. I'm a Little Teapot is in the copy protection music. I just remembered, I don't actually have the copy protection here. I'm going to have to run off and get it. And it's in my Space Quest 4 box in the living room. I'll be right back. Just 2 seconds.
Oh, has Trolls told you about the other bonus that we're going to offer? I don't remember him mentioning it yet. I think I saw somewhere in the chat someone talking about autographed copies. Yes, there is a signature bonus. And the way it's going to work, Trolls and I are going to have to figure out how to do this, but everyone who buys a copy of the vinyl version of the full-length LP and of the EP, everyone who buys that copy, we'll figure out a way for you to get my home address so you can send it to me. I'll sign it. Make sure you include return postage so I can get it back to you. So yes, buy a copy. We have 60 that have been purchased, and all 100 people who buy the album or more, we'll find a way to get you my mailing address so that you can send it to me for an autograph.
Hey, that is so fantastically awesome. Thank you so much for offering to do that. That was the other big thing that I neglected to mention at the start of the stream, and also after.
And I apologize if I stole your thunder.
No, don't. I'm such a scatterbrain. I'm such a scatterbrain because I honestly have a million things to think of right now. Some of them family oriented. This Astros looks very different. It's gotten a lot more purple since last I saw it, but this version actually doesn't look half bad for a VGA game that was turned into a 16-color game at a time when I think Mark Crowe specifically said, I don't know if he said it publicly or just told me in private, but he specifically said the 16 color versions, by the time we went to Space Quest 4, we didn't give a rat's ass about EGA. So this was not done by Mark, or I think this must have been left to interns or something, because they were beyond 16 colors at that point. Whee!
Well, it is pretty amazing what you can do with 16 colors.
It is.
There's the eagle.
And here it is. Wow, what an incredible view. I admit I got a little creative with some of the song titles. For instance, the music playing right now, I just titled it "Wow, what an incredible view" because That's the quote that springs to mind whenever I hear this music. I could have just called it something boring like Pterodactyl Ride or Roger Gets Captured or something, but no.
No, that's a good title.
Whee! Whee! My.
I had it coming. Let's admit it.
I'm gonna have to lick him. Obviously, Josh Mandel at his finest. Take it from someone who knows sick. Licking corpses is going way beyond simple dementia. Whoa, the quote is different in the disc version. I was just reciting it from memory. Hello, licking corpses is going way beyond just pushing the envelope of dementia. Grab the reins, pal. So I think maybe Gary Owens in the booth was just going, this is not how people speak. Can we do something?
That's Scott Murphy all over it, for sure.
Yeah, so that was not a Josh Mandel line, I'm guessing. Oh, okay, so on the topic of music, which is what we're here to talk about, you guys also did some pretty inventive stuff with the with looping MIDI music. Obviously not as advanced as what LucasArts were doing with iMuse, but that's a whole different story. Space Quest 4 actually does some things kind of iMusey-ish in that it'll turn some instruments on and off at certain points. It'll like mute and unmute instruments, and it'll loop not just, from the end back to the beginning, but it'll loop into a specific point in the MIDI file, which is not something any other Sierra game have done up until this time.
Yeah, we were the first ones to do that. In fact, I think it was my request that they do something like this, and fortunately that freed us composers up to write introductions to pieces of music that we wouldn't hear when it looped again. So
yeah,
I was grateful to have that little bit of tech added, and then we took advantage of it big time in Space Quest 1 on the remake.
Oh yeah, Space Quest 1, for all we could mention about that project, it has one of the most fantastic soundtracks where you basically just went hog wild with all the synthesizer patches. The skimmer theme will forever be ingrained in my memory. I sometimes hum it when I'm driving my car, which is not a good place to do that. It's not a good place to think of the skimmer anyway.
Yeah, that's true. It was definitely a Mario Brothers type soundtrack for that sequence.
But yeah, the best example of the non-traditional looping is Professor Lloyd, where it starts out really hopeful and lovely, and then it just degenerates into this like misanthropic sounding depressing music, which I absolutely love to pieces. You mentioned while we were listening to the soundtrack, Ken, that Rob Atesalp? I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he wrote some tunes for the game. And when you said that, when I asked you to, do you know who composed the soundtrack? Because on the vinyl labels, there's a little parentheses next to the song titles that says who actually composed this bit of music, which is something that has always eluded me. And some of the tunes that I picked were composed by Rob. And it's like, so who is Rob, and how many Sierra games did he have a hand in and moonlighting as composer for?
Well, Rob Atesalp, that's
Atesalp.
how you pronounce his name.
Thanks. Thank you.
He was hired the same day I was hired, and he tended to work on music that was more rock oriented. That's why the pop stuff that's in the mall here is mostly his work. And like I said, I really love the exploration theme at the landing bay. That's his. It kind of sounded like James Bond. It felt like that to me.
Yeah.
I didn't really pay attention to what other composers were doing when I was there because we were always so focused on what we were doing. So I can't name any games off the top of my head that has his credits. If you go to mobygames.com and look up Rob Atesalp, I'm sure you'll see every game he ever worked on. He ended up over at Midway Entertainment with Orpheus went there, and I can't remember his name, but a lot of Sierra people ended up over at Midway Games. And when I went there in 1999 or 2000, I renewed my friendship with Rob again. I chat with Rob every once in a while online. He seems to be doing well, but I couldn't list the name of the games that he worked on, unfortunately.
No, I've seen his name sort of crop up in different Sierra games, and I know he's listed in the end credits for Space Quest 4, but I always thought maybe he just did like sound effects or something. But no, he did bits of music. I'm sorry, I got kind of distracted because I don't know if you're watching the stream, but the EGA version of the Monolith Burger Manager is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, he's got an acne problem for sure, man.
He looks a bit like Pizza the Hut if Pizza the Hut went bad. Like if someone kept him out of the fridge.
For anyone suffering with acne, I apologize. It was not to shame you for having a skin condition that you can't help. But yeah, you're right. Pizza the Hut for sure.
Oh, let's lick the cigar. Ooh. Oh, they changed this line from the disc version to the CD version as well. In the CD version, you actually have Roger's voice actor coughing up a lung. Oh, Dan has a question for you. Did you write music knowing what the game looked like to get a feel, or was it by script or instruction? How much of the game did you see before you were told to like sit down, write some music for this bit?
I almost always saw what was on screen. Almost always.
So it's pretty late in the development process, really.
Yeah, I mean, you could give me a videotape of what they had, and if things changed in the game after I wrote the music, I wouldn't have known it. Sometimes I would have access to the actual game in progress, and I'd play it a little bit, a few times to get the feel, but almost always I was able to see the game or footage from the game.
That's interesting. Yeah, I remember Bob Siebenberg, when he did the Space Quest 3 soundtrack, he worked from home. They basically sent him off with VHS tapes of the game being played, and with like specific instructions. Okay, here and here we would like some sort of music, so have at it, see what you can do. And that's how we do it. But I thought, okay, so it's Bob Siebenberg. He was, drummer for Supertramp. Obviously, he's not going to sit down at a computer and actually play the game himself. Bob didn't. When he left a voice message on one of my podcasts episodes, which was amazing, by the way. He was very kind to do that. And I remember he said he basically got the gig because he was living in Oakhurst in California at the time, between tours with Supertramp, and he was just basically looking for a different experience. He wanted to score something, but he didn't want to do TV or movies because that, everyone was doing that. He wanted to work in an area he had no clue about, so he went with computer games. But I honestly thought that when they started doing Space Quest 4, when they started doing like 256 color games, you guys started actually making like storyboards and planning in advance and stuff. Did you see any like concept art before you got attached to the projects you did at Sierra? These are very rambly questions, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's a good question. I hadn't really thought about it before. I don't recall seeing any storyboards, to be honest. There were segments of some games where I was told, oh, we want exactly this kind of piece of music for this scene. And I'd write it, and then I'd see it in the game. I went, oh, that match. How about that? So sometimes it was just from a verbal description. And sometimes it was from footage, but I don't recall ever seeing storyboards. No. Although that would be the right way to do it if I was in charge of everything.
Oh, yeah, clearly. It's really such a shame that when Sierra went through the whole getting liquidated and all that, all the original concept art and original backgrounds before they got scanned in and downgraded and all that, they were just thrown in the trash. That is such a shame. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, as you saw during the fundraising portion of the crowdsourcing for Space Venture, someone from Sierra did salvage the cover for Space Quest 4 and sold it on eBay and raised money to help fund the Kickstarter campaign. So that was really nice to see that I would have bid on it because I would have loved to have that. And I had a friend who was part of a venture capital firm who was a collector of Sierra stuff, and I said, "Oh, you've got to jump in on this this auction on eBay because you're a collector of original Sierra art. So if anybody has it, he's got some, but you're right, a lot of it ended up in the trash, unfortunately." And by the way, I think everyone participating in the chat room and listening, and myself, thank you for planning this at a time that's convenient for us. I mean, you guys started at 12:30 noon my time, and you're like midnight hour your time, and I'm so grateful for your dedication to this whole project that I can't express it enough.
Dude, first of all, thank you so much for writing one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time, if not my all-time favorite game soundtrack of all time. There's that. And also for, listening to the stuff I've done to your soundtrack and actually giving it a thumbs up. I was legit a little scared. I mean, I know we've been friends for many years now, but I was still a little scared that you'd go, "What the hell has this asshole done to my music?" Luckily, you seemed on board with it. So I really want to thank you for that.
Yeah, it's just a masterful piece of work, and it sounds really great. I can't. It's worth every penny or every euro penny that you're charging for it. So.
I couldn't have done it without the meaty music that it was based on, and honestly, composing this is a much greater feat than just picking some instruments for the individual tracks. So, yeah.
And Summer offers the correct denomination. It is Eurocent.
Oh, good God. I'm in a dress and loving it. Right, so I think that's going to be the end of the stream here. Terribly sorry we didn't get to finish Space Quest 4, but then again... See, I was playing the game, and half of my OBS window was covered, so I couldn't actually see the little ticker at the bottom. We are up to 60 pre-orders out of 100.
Yay.
Yes.
Well done, everybody. Well done.
Well, thank you guys so much. Cheers. Round of applause. And that's on the first day of the campaign.
I'll sign them all. We'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Cheers. Lavasoft asks, is there a link to that? Yes, please go to, I had this thing right here. Yes, please go to bit.ly/SQ4vinyl. And if you scroll down, all the way down, you'll see actually, I'm going to show you. Check this out. Okay, so this is my browser window. This is actually what it looked like. Get you out of the way. This is the big 12-inch Space Quest 4 soundtrack. It has all of these tracks on it. We listened to it at the start of the stream, and please pick this up. It would mean the world to me. It's 60 pre-orders out of 100. That's pretty damn good. I have a good feeling about this. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see in the recommended spot here, there's a little extra EP, the Galaxy Galleria EP. Now this one, I mean, it would be great if it came to fruition, but again, if you're on the fence which one to get, please get the 12-inch. That's the one we really want to see, because that has the most music on it, and it's also, it's the one that is really near and dear to my heart. But if you look at the 12-inch and the track list of it, which now disappeared entirely from my screen, if you look at the track list, you'll notice that it jumps from the Let's Go Shopping to Skaterama and then straight to Space Quest 1. So it doesn't really have any of the music from the Galaxy Galleria. So if you want that, then there's the little 7-inch here. Although, I hate to say it, it is a separate project, so it does come with separate postage and all of that stuff. But why is the price lower for you, Summer? Oh, Summer, that's because it's I'm logged in right now. So if I self-order, I guess there's a different price for that. I don't know why. This is I want to be clear about this. This is a non-profit venture. I don't know why the price is lower here. Because when you start a campaign, I'll show you. If I go into the dashboard for this thing. We go into project conditions. Pledge amount is set to $14.45. when you create a campaign, it asks you what should the pledge amount be. And then there's a little text at the bottom that says, if you put it at lower than, and then it gives you this number. If you put it to lower than 1445, then you will have negative profits, and it won't let you save the project. So I put it at exactly what it said would be the 0 profit. Now, why it adds a little bit on top, I think might have to do with, it could be anything. I honestly don't know. But I put it at the lowest possible amount that it could. If, and I want to be very clear about this, if for some reason it transpires that there is some sort of profit associated with this, that I do get some sort of profit out of this, I will donate each and every cent to an anti-cancer foundation, the American Cancer Association or something to that effect. Because I know, well, Scott Murphy had cancer, Mark Crowe's wife had cancer, so cancer is really piece of shit disease, either way you look at it, but also something that has affected the Two Guys from Andromeda personally. So if there is any profit, I would imagine if we get more than 100 pre-orders, the cost per vinyl will go down, so there might be a profit associated with that. But if there is any, I will donate to charity. Every single fucking cent of that, and I will show you the receipts, so you know. I wouldn't string you along for any of that. So it's a good question, Summer, but I honestly don't know. I would imagine it has something to do with administration or whatever for the campaign. You'd have to ask Curate about that. Eric Sten asks, is there a digital only option for getting this? I don't have a phonograph. After the campaign, I'll probably put a digital version on Bandcamp so you can get this. But if you order the vinyl, you will also get a digital version. It comes with the vinyl. There's a little download card in the sleeve, and you can also just go to Curate and download the digital version. So when you get the vinyls, both vinyls actually, there is a download code inside the vinyl sleeve to get that digitally. And I really, really hope, of course, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but I really, really hope that you will consider donating to the campaign, even if you don't have a phonograph. I happen to think it looks rather pretty, so you might just have a conversation piece. I know you can buy frames that are 12 by 12 inches, so you can frame it and put it on the wall. I don't know.
That's what I plan to do.
There you go. So well, hopefully you'll help us out in that regard. So as you can tell, my brain is turning to absolute mush right now. I did want to show you guys one little thing when I was digging for the copy protection. Look at this little thing. This 3D printed Roger Wilco. I know it's hard to see in my tiny little face cam, but my good friend Michael Council came to visit me for my birthday last year. Gave me 4 of these in different colors for my birthday. So I just wanted to show those off. These are really cool. Little. And oh shit! While I've got Ken on the line here, Mr. Ken Allen. First of all, thank you so much for being
quite welcome.
I am so tremendously happy to call you my friend, because I have been a fan of yours for pretty much ever since I played Space Quest 4 for the first time at the tender age of 14, 15, something like that. So this is truly special to me, sir. And Ken also
feelings mutual, so thank you.
Oh, cheers. Ken gave me a fantastic present. I think it was a birthday present as well. One time, sent me an original Space Quest 4 box, fresh off the assembly line, with Mark and Scott's signature on it. I still have that framed, and good God, I will be clutching that on my deathbed. I will never part with that thing. So
that's one of those things where it's the end result of a very fond memory, and I'm thinking all my stuff's going to go into the trash someday. So who would I want to really have this? And of course, the first person that came to mind would be the Space Quest historian. And one of the things that I don't know if it's still on there, but when Mark and Crowe signed it, Mark and Scott signed it, they had a coffee cup, and they had when you put the coffee cup down, it had a coffee ring. And so they imprinted that cover with a coffee ring. And I don't know if it's survived to this day because it's 30 years later, obviously. And I don't know if coffee rings fade over time, but somewhere, if you get a molecule analyzer and get down into that, you'll detect some 30-year-old coffee.
30-year-old coffee. Drunk by either Scott or Mark. Probably both. Out of the same cup.
Probably both. Yeah, I think they both. And then they even said, well, here, let me give you my business card and put a coffee in. This is how we'll autograph from now on. And it became a thing. It was like a Marx Brothers moment for us. But, yeah.
And yeah, I do actually remember seeing that little coffee. It's still there. It's up in my office, my former office right now. So I'm not going to go get it, but it is. I've shown it off a million times. It's one of those rare moments where I go, guys, check this out. This is so cool.
The last person to touch that cover was me 30 years ago. So it has not been touched by human hand since then.
Oh, and I've never taken it out of the frame.
You're welcome.
I haven't taken it, and it never will come out of that frame unless there's a house fire. I will. It's one of the first. I will rescue my wife and child, and then that.
Wow. I don't know what that says about you and me, but yeah.
I have a lot of priceless artifacts in my house, but good God, that one. Yeah. So anyway, cheers. I see we've got one more order. Oh, two more. It's up to 62 out of 100. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to end the stream here because it is now midnight and I still have to get in the shower, and I will not be live streaming that, however many times you ask. So, and I know there are obviously a lot of people who absolutely should not and will not watch that. And Twitch might have a problem. Why am I stuck on this tangent? Good God. Seriously, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this stream. I'm very, very sorry that I will not be streaming much in the future. My wife's due date is actually this coming Wednesday. So my mind is actually perfect time to start a crowdfunding campaign, right? I mean, that's just perfect timing all around. But yeah, so the little baby historian is coming next week, maybe. We don't know how biology works actually, but might.
God help us all.
God help us all. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny donated $20. Good God. Oh my God. Thank you so much. But yeah, Johnny says, I'm not going to buy it. Please purchase it for someone who really wants it and can't afford it. Trans rights. Johnny, absolutely. So Johnny just donated a free copy. So, shit, I'm going to have to think long and hard about this one. But yeah, So, I will absolutely purchase a copy for someone who wants it and can't afford it. And thank you, Johnny. That is so very, very nice of you. And also trans rights. Abso-fucking-lutely.